This episode is brought to you by Liberty Landscape Supply. These guys are the go-to experts in Northeast Florida for everything from plants, trees, mulch, aggregate, pavers, you name it. They don't just sell stuff, they actually help you figure out what you need. Whether you're going full on do-it-yourself or you want someone else to do the installation, Liberty's got you covered. Hit up Liberty Landscape Supply at libertylandscapesupply.com or swing by one of their locations in Jacksonville, St. Augustine, or Fernandina.
So from time to time, we get to go to different locations to record the podcast. And today we are at the beautiful Bragan Baseball Complex, the home of walk-off charities, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But before we get into that, did you do anything interesting this weekend?
It was, we took some, by the way, great to see you, bro.
Yeah.
What a great day, and it's beautiful out here in Jacksonville.
Beautiful
and
weather.
I got to tell you, we got some really nice lawn chairs.
I know.
Back and forth. I'm trying to, if I rock too much, make sure you let me know.
I'll do it. I'll let you know.
Yeah, Rebecca and I went with several of the chamber members, and we went bird hunting this weekend up in Georgia. It was absolutely perfect. Just a great day. Watching the dogs work, and got a chance to shoot a bunch of birds and have a great time with some friends, and so it was a lot of fun out in nature.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of FOMO, honestly.
Right, yeah.
I've never been bird hunting, so
we'll have to teach you how to be safe first, and then
safety is paramount.
Yeah. So,
and I had a first ever this weekend too. So I played pool with a professional pool player.
Okay.
Yeah. So Rack 'em Up Billiards over off Old St. Augustine Road. Ended up over there Friday night playing with a guy that is now a friend of mine, but he travels around to different tournaments and plays pool, and he was really, really good, as you might imagine.
Did you lose a bunch of money? Or
No, I didn't put any money on the line because I knew who I was playing against.
Yeah.
However, I did win one game out of about probably 10.
Did you run the table?
Probably hit 5 in a row in.
Yeah,
and then my partner who I was playing with hit the 8-ball in. It was kind of a lucky shot, but we ended up winning, and we celebrated nonetheless.
Awesome. Talk trash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I got to tell you, I know we talked about the last couple times how important sleep is and fitness, and super proud. Last night I got 7 hours and 55 minutes of sleep.
Wow.
So I'm
on purpose.
It's getting better every time, and just measuring it, I think, causes me to really focus on what am I doing in the evening, what time am I eating, what time am I actually getting in bed and winding down.
What time are you getting in bed? To be able to sleep that long, you have to be...
It's because I wake up the same time, so I have to get to bed earlier.
Yeah.
So I fell asleep last night at 10:01. So I was pretty...
That's not bad.
Yeah, pretty good.
It still gives you time to get home and wind down a little bit.
So
I usually get in bed around 11.
Yeah.
And then I wake up the same time no matter what.
No matter what, yeah.
So
that's what old people do.
I know.
I feel like I'm getting old. I mean, I feel like I'm like I'm gonna start going to the early bird special at Golden Corral and start trying to get there about 5 o'clock.
Yeah, being out here just makes me think about all the memories we have from back in the day, all the hours we spent at a baseball complex, little league, middle school, high school baseball.
I got to tell you, baseball, I tell my kids baseball was my first love. And I mean, growing up in Florida, you played all year long.
Right.
And the memories I have on a baseball field are, I'll never forget my mom and dad coming and watching, and my family watching games. And the person that we are able to talk to today, maybe one of the most well-known in Jacksonville when it comes to sports. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
And not only has he had an incredible career that we're going to talk about today, but talking about giving back to the community.
Yep.
This field would never happen if it weren't for him. Right. And I want to hear that story today. I want to hear, how he fell in love with sports, and he was a baseball player, and it's going to be a pretty good conversation. I can't wait for you to get a chance to get to know Frank Frangie a little bit.
Let's bring him on.
So without further ado, we'd love to bring in, well-known talk show host in Jacksonville Sports 1010XL, but also the founder of Walk Off Charities, Frank Frangie.
How's it going, Frank? Daniel, all right, man. TJ, thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for coming out.
Oh, I appreciate you guys having me very much.
Thanks for inviting us out to your home too, man.
Well, we appreciate that. We're proud of it, and we wanted you guys to see it and be around it.
Beautiful.
So we really appreciate it very much.
It's super cool because every one of the other podcasts that we've done have been inside, and kind of the same background, and we thought there wouldn't be anything better than to come showcase this beautiful field, and you get to talk a little bit about what you've done out here in the community.
Yeah, Danny, we're proud of this field. It's a city field. Daryl Joseph and the folks at the city have been so supportive of this, and they built the field and they let us help in the design and some of the plans for it, and maybe kind of sprucing it up a bit. But we're really proud of this city facility, the Bragan Baseball Complex.
It is.
So thanks for coming out.
First class. It's first class.
We love it out here. We love showing it off. We love inviting people out. So we're glad you guys are here.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you, and you've been a friend for a long time and have done so much for the community, and want to talk through all of that today. Maybe talk a little Jags too, so hopefully you can give us some insight. But really, I think people know you and hear you on the radio, but they maybe don't know your story, and like where you're from and what neighborhood you grew up in. I know you're a Jacksonville guy, but tell us your story.
Daniel, thank you for that. And I don't know if it's all that interesting a story, but I'm happy to share it. I'm from here. I'm born and raised here in the San Souci area of town. I'm proud of how I was raised. I was raised in a 900 square foot home with 2 little bedrooms and 1 little bathroom. And I never saw central heat and air until I got to college in Florida. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I said, we had these little window units. I got to Florida and said, so you hit one button on the wall and you cool, and this is fan. I should have been
a game changer.
It was the greatest thing in the world. So, but yeah, I grew up in the San Souci area. I went to Inglewood High School. I'm very proud of that. It's still a great place. I'm still an Inglewood fan. I graduated from Florida, and I went to FJC, which is now FSCJ, but I went to FJC at the time. I was a junior college transfer. Got to Florida and graduated from Florida in 1980. Began my career as a newspaper reporter. I made my way into radio and a little TV after that, and then everything took off after that. But that's kind of the background.
You played Little League?
Played Little League at San Souci the whole time.
So I was Lakeshore.
Okay.
TJ was
I was Bell Med. I was in Orange Park.
Okay.
So I grew up in Orange Park when I was that age.
But I remember San Souci was our rivals.
Yeah.
Lakeshore would come over to San Souci. We knew we were going to have a good game. So
yeah, baseball was serious back then. We Lakeshore and West and Normandy and all the West Side schools. We had Rondette was really good and Justina. So it was a big deal. It was a big deal playing in it. Daniel, I played all those years. After I got out of college, I coached. I coached for baseball for about 7. Baseball is my passion. Yeah. I call football games every Sunday, and that's the greatest honor of my professional career. Right. But baseball's what I love, and so I've been around it my whole life, and it's a big deal.
What position?
I was a pitcher. Pitched through high school. A righty. Pitched through high school in Inglewood. I tried to walk on at Florida. Made it for a little while, but got cut at the end, and so but stayed with baseball for a lot of years after that.
What was we all have memories on the baseball field. I've got some good ones. I got some bad ones. What pops out in your mind as one of the best memories you've had out on
Daniel, we all had days where we threw the no hitter, the one hitter, we
didn't all have.
I was going to say, out of us 3, you're the only one that's done that.
In junior high, my favorite story I love to tell about baseball is I love to tell this story. So I was a student in Florida in 1980. That was, for people that know, that was the Lindsey Scott buck to Lindsey and broke the hearts of the Gators. And so Lindsey Scott scores on this 93-yard touchdown. Gator fans all know, Georgia fans all know. It's one of the most famous plays in college football history. Well, I'm at the game. It's my senior year, and I'm at this game as a fan, and we're devastated. But Buck Bellew threw the touchdown pass, and 93-yard touchdown pass to Lindsey Scott to break the Gators' hearts. Well, Buck was also a really good baseball player. He led the SEC in home runs that year. At 16 home runs. He was a great baseball player. So the next year, I was playing in a college league with really good college players, and our team out of Jacksonville was playing the Valdosta Red Sox, who Buck played for. Well, it's time to get even, Dan. Okay. I was gonna settle the score. So we were facing this Valdosta Red Sox team, 10 o'clock game in the morning. So we're the visiting team. We go out in order. It's okay. I was going to strike out Buck Bellew for all the Gator fans everywhere. That was my way of getting Buck back. Bottom of the inning, first guy gets a hit. Next guy, we get him out. And Buck bats third because, of course, Buck bats third. And this was my day. And this place was pretty crowded. The place was packed. It was probably, by now, it was about 10:20, 10:30 in the morning. It was my chance to be a star.
Right.
Sometimes you got to step up and be a star. Sometimes you're going to blow that fastball right by the guy that just threw that 93-yard touchdown, okay? I was going to settle the score for the Gator fans. I threw the best fastball I had, four-seam fastball right down the middle. He hit that thing so far, I'm still not sure it's landed. And we have laughed about that ever since. The day I got Buck Bellew back is I stood on the mound and watched his 450-foot home run sail over left center.
The ball had a stewardess
It sure did. And so Buck now is a radio guy in Atlanta and a dear friend. And every time we go on one of each other's shows, we talk about that. I said, Buck, do we have to talk about the home run? He said, yeah, let's talk about the home run. So that's the story I love to tell about the baseball.
What about you? Daniel might be able to beat you as far as the embarrassment side of things. Now, let me just say this. I grew up playing baseball with Daniel, middle school, high school. He was an excellent baseball player. He even played some junior college ball, before he transferred to play football. But there was one particular instance where he didn't shine on the diamond, and I think you want to share that
I may talk about that a little bit later if I can get my nerve up to talk about that story.
Well, mine went 450 feet, Daniel, in case you want to know. So I got...
so that's I've had those. You know, I remember my senior year in high school playing Nice. I played for Trinity, and we were playing Nice. And first up to bat, I was batting third and just crushed it over the center field fence. And I was thinking, man, this might be a good year. Second time I came up, crushed it again over center field fence. And everybody was thinking, wow, this guy, the wheels started coming off, and I ended up not finishing too strong my senior year. But that was the big, when you think about a game that you had, you hit two dingers over the center field fence, and
pretty good game.
This day I can remember that one, How about you?
So I think the highlight of my career would be when I was a freshman at Trinity, and that would have been Daniel's sophomore year, but we went to the Final Four. So I got to be on that team. I didn't play.
At Boardwalk and Baseball.
Do you remember Boardwalk and Baseball way back in the day?
City, sure I do.
So we played against Westminster, and we had a guy who could throw in the 90s. And he was, of course, pitching this game in the semifinals, and their catcher came up to bat. You know what I'm probably going to say. And our guy was pretty big, and when he would throw hard, he would grunt. So the catcher gets up, he's batting third. There's one guy on first, and our guy throws his fastball, his 94 mile an hour, grunts as hard as he can. And this dude was huge. He swung and he hit that thing, and he grunted, and it almost went over center field wall at Boardwalk and Baseball, but it hit the wall and bounced around. He ended up on third. And it went downhill from there. We ended up losing.
This is gonna be a rough day.
20-2.
That's
20-2.
That was we had a Cinderella story, and we didn't belong in that.
I get it.
But it was a trip of a lifetime for me.
Never forget it. But that's awesome. So you've been very influential in the sports realm in Jacksonville. Talk a little bit about that. You graduate from Florida. You love the game. Everybody wants to find a career that they love. How did you get into, obviously, did you go to journalism school?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I graduated.
So that started it.
Yeah. It actually started excuse me, I've had this cold I've been fighting. It started in high school for me, Daniel. I wanted to be a sports writer, and I always thought I'd be a sports writer. And the Jacksonville Journal, the afternoon paper, had a tabloid called Accent on Youth, and one person from every school got to write for it. So I wrote for it. And at the end of the year, I was the correspondent of the year. So I thought I had a chance to do this. The day I graduated high school on a Thursday, on the following Monday, I was working for the Times Union as a copy boy.
Wow.
So really 5 days out of high school, I was in the business, which is kind of cool. So kind of paid my way through junior college. We didn't have a lot of money, so I paid my way through junior college and college by doing that. My dad died when I was 14. I was an only child. My mom put away enough money to pay for 2 years of college, and I was able to kind of pay for the rest of it. And so, so I started as a sports writer. Worked for the Times Union all through the 80s. In the late 80s, this sports radio thing came around, and it looked like there'd do something special. And Jay Solomon was kind enough to hire me in the late 80s to be on with him while I was still a sports writer. And I loved both, but the more I did it, I was an average sports writer. I wasn't going to be a columnist. I wasn't a skilled writer as the people that went on to be columnists, and I knew that. But I thought maybe there was a chance in this broadcast thing. I liked doing it. I liked meeting clients. So in 1993, I left the newspaper business. People thought I'd lost my mind because sports writing was just coming around.
Yeah.
I mean, sports broadcasting was coming around.
Newspapers at that time
were flourishing.
Monsters.
Yeah, I think
it's nothing. People today don't realize what Times Union was back in the 90s.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. So I left in 93. I went to 930 WNZS at the time and began a radio career, and I'm still doing it. But that's kind of where that was kind of the start of it all. That was the genesis of. I was a sports writer. Did both from like 88 through 92, and then in 93 it was broadcast only. So that's kind of how it got.
And what was that station? The broadcast
930 WNZS. When we launched in 91. It was the 9th all sports station in the country. It was all sports. WFAN, the Fan in New York, was the first in 87, and then by 4 years later, there were 10 of us doing it.
Yeah.
And now there's hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah. Did the idea come from like the concept of ESPN being an all sports?
You know, it's funny, Daniel. ESPN started in about 89 when it really got going. But I think talk radio was blowing up.
Yeah.
You know, Rush Limbaugh came along and people said, gosh, I can get in my car and I can hear whatever I want to talk about for the whole drive home.
Right.
Or the whole drive to work.
Yeah.
And I think we'd always just heard music on the air. What if I didn't want to hear music? What if I wanted to get in my car in the morning or when I leave work in the afternoon and I just want to hear people talk about my favorite team for 20 minutes? Well, the world figured that out in the late 80s, and then all the stations did. And Linda Bird, who was our general manager with then Clear Channel,
right?
Actually, it was Paxton Communications, became Clear Channel, which is now iHeart. She said, let's do this. So she was really the forward thinker in the early 90s, and Jay Solomon kind of taught me how to do it. Once we started, David Lamb, God rest his soul, did the mornings. Jay did the.
He was something else.
He was the best.
Yeah,
and Jay
did
a
character.
Jay did afternoons, and I did it with him. And then when I went in full time, I kind of took over the afternoons. I've been in afternoons for the most part since 1993, 94. I've been the guy you listen to when you ride home. Probably tired of me by now. So
no way.
No.
Frank, could you ever have imagined that it would develop into what it is today, where it's just 24 hours a day on TV, radio? You know, satellite radio, you could just hear sports talk.
You know, TJ, the distribution of content is more vast than it's ever been, and it's always changing. It's now digital. It's podcasts like this one. It's streaming. Before that, it was radio. Satellite radio came along. Before that, it was just TV and newspapers. So it's always evolving. So I think I probably always figured there would be the distribution of content. I don't think any of us knew how.
Right.
I don't think any of us knew, how it would be distributed. But I think we always knew the distribution of sports content would be there. And so you got to change with it. You've got to evolve with it. And we've been able to do that in all our various mediums. But it's pretty cool to have a career where you pretty much talk about your favorite sports team. I'm very blessed.
That's super cool. We deal at the chamber. We work with a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs, and I love the entrepreneurial story where people put everything on the line. They have sleepless nights because they don't know if ends are going to meet, and then you see the success start taking off and the business start taking off. Were there times when you were just starting off as a pioneer in this industry where you were like, I may have to go flip burgers because I don't know if this is going to work out?
Scared to death when I started. When I started, and again, I was fortunate in that I grew up without a whole lot of money, and my wife was the same. So, but when in 1993, I was making big bucks, Daniel, like 17.5 in Benny's, okay? and I said, I want to try this radio thing.
Right.
And I thought and I loved working at the Times Union, and everything I learned about journalism came from that. It was a wonderful place to work. But I didn't make a lot of money. And I said, Jace taught me how to sell advertising and to buy time from the station. And I went to my wife. At the time, we had just bought a home. Our daughter was a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And I said, I think I'm going to quit. She said, say it again. I said, I think I'm going to resign and do this radio thing full time. And she looked at me like I had a blue head. And I said, listen, I won't do this if you. She said, no, I support you and I trust you if you think this is going to work. But there were some tough times, and I've said this before. My mom, we didn't have a lot. My mom loaned us $500 because I needed a computer to send out invoices. So and my mom and I were really close. It was hard when we lost her. My mom never had a dryer. We had a clothesline. Right. You know, we had a washer and a clothesline. So I got grant money at Florida. I'm taking you back a little bit. I got grant money at Florida, just hardship money.
Right.
So it was called a BEOG, Basic Educational Opportunity Grant. I think it became the Pell Grant.
Yeah.
But I think it was the predecessor to the Pell Grant. So I took the money and I bought my mom a dryer. That was the greatest thing ever. We had a dryer.
Wow.
Now we had a washer and a dryer. You know, we didn't have central heat and air. So later, my mom loaned me $500 and to buy a computer. I didn't have any money, and so we gave it a go. And the more we did it, the more I learned how to do it. So
Right.
yeah, that was a scary time. And but yeah, that for me. Now when we started 1010, that was above my pay grade. We helped start it.
Yeah.
But
Talk through that story, because it's been such a success, and
Yeah.
I've always heard that you were kind of the one that was getting this thing going with the opportunity.
I can tell you, I wasn't the one. There were a couple of us, but I can tell you, when we started, had been at 930 all those years. Moved to 1460, a smaller station, and the company that owned that brought Steve Griffin to town. Steve is a really smart radio guy. Good guy, understands radio, understands all the things about running radio.
Yeah.
From FCC licensing to how to build a traffic system, to all the stuff about radio that I would never know.
Yeah.
Still don't.
Yeah.
And Steve and I became friends, and he was working for Salem Communications at the time, and he wasn't from here. He's from went to West Virginia originally. He had worked most recently in the Philadelphia area, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, but he had moved here to run this cluster for Salem, and I was buying time doing a sports show on 1460. And so Steve and I got together, both of us, and said, what do you think if we found a way to start our own sports station?
Yeah.
He and I think we ate lunch at a deli on Mountain Road, and said, could we do it? I said, well, what do we need? And he said, we went through everything. Here's the amount of money we needed. He gave me the amount of money, and here's how we want to lay out the show. I said, I agree with that. I said, well, I know enough people that I can probably find us the investors, and I can probably recruit a lot of the talent.
Right.
Dan and Jeff were buddies of mine. Rick Ballou was a buddy of mine. Mike Dempsey was a buddy of mine. Joe Coward. We all kind of grew up in the business together. So I can probably find us the investor dollars, and I can probably get the talent to come over. You do the rest.
Yeah.
And he was the star. Griffin was the star. He knew how to build all of it. I mean, he knew where to buy the station. He knew how to build the station. He knew how to brand the station. He knew how to build a traffic system and a sales department and make sure we were compliant with FCC regulations and all the rest.
Yeah.
So he built it. I helped find the money. I helped find the talent. But Steve and I together kind of thought it through. But then he built what we have now, which is a radio station that does really well. I think we're one of the best sports radio stations in the country. I'm biased.
I think so too.
We have 14. Yeah. We have 14 on-air hosts. We have 7 shows from 6 a to 10 p at night, and we're real proud of 1010XL. I can tell you.
So when you say buy time, does each show buy their own time and then they can generate their ad revenue?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Not anymore. We all work for the company.
Okay.
But that's the way it was built.
Okay.
The way sports radio became what it has become is you buy time. Jay Solomon taught me how to do it in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
And you buy time, and then you sell your own advertising, and you hopefully sell more than you pay.
Right.
And that's how you build the business. Now everybody works for 1010XL. Now, a lot of us are still in the sales world.
Right.
We bring money in, and that helps us generate the kind of revenue we want. But yeah, no, everybody works for the company.
So you can bring your own, like if you had an advertiser that's been with you for
that's correct
forever,
and most of us do.
Yeah.
Most of us have. That's still kind of the crux of what we do, is the advertisers that trust us individually. But we've also built, Ken Brady's our general sales manager, built a wonderful sales department.
Yeah.
So a lot of the on-air guys do some of the selling, but Ken's guys do most of the selling. Just a regular sales department of 4 or 5 really good sellers with an outstanding sales manager. But it all kind of works together. But there's no more buy time and then work for yourself.
Yeah.
We all work for the company.
Okay.
I think we would all say we're grateful for what y'all have been able to develop. We benefit from it. Just listening to, your expertise, I should say, on as it relates to sports talk radio. But thinking back to, because you mentioned this is something that you wanted to do since you were little. Who did you look up to in the industry? Who were the people that you followed or you wanted to emulate kind of their style or what they were doing? Who was your inspiration?
That's a great question. There's a number of answers to that, TJ. I wanted to be a great sports writer. I wanted to be, back in the day, it was Frank DeFord and Curry Kirkpatrick. More contemporary, it was Rick Riley. I wanted to be the great sports writer.
Right.
I was just okay.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, I don't have the command of the language that the great sports writers do. And that's being very honest. And at some point, you got to be introspective.
Yeah.
And I knew I didn't have that. As a broadcaster, we all watch the broadcasters that we grew up watching, but I didn't have a role model there. the guy that had more to do with my career than anybody else was Jay Solomon.
Wow.
Because Jay Solomon was the nicest man I ever met. He sold advertising, and I can tell you, I remember now, this is the early 90s, and I'm making very little money, and most of us in the business weren't. And Jay is making a lot of money by selling advertising, buying a little bit of time, and I thought, I think I can do that. I think people like me. I think I can get in front of people. I know I can talk sports. So I think watching Jay, and I learned from Jay. We all learned from Jay. Jay really set the... He kind of taught us how to do it.
Right.
What makes 1010 work in large part is a lot of the on-air people bring in their clients, to your point. Now, we all work for the company, but we all bring our clients there. Well, Jay taught us how to do it. This whole concept of the guy who's on the air also sells advertising.
Right.
Jay Solomon built that concept in Jacksonville.
Wow.
He totally built it. And he's the reason it works.
Wow.
And God rest his soul, he's gone. I'm going to show you a plaque in a minute about the old days of sports radio, about how it all got started. But Jay is the one, TJ, to your question, that I learned it from, that everybody liked Jay. You know what I learned about Jay? Everybody liked to see him come. If you know a great sales guy is a guy that, when you don't want to be the sales guy, oh God, here he comes.
That people are trying to walk away.
Right. He was people loved to see Jay. People like talking to Jay.
That's awesome.
And I learned, gosh, if you can be that guy, be genuine, be yourself. Don't be, so I think he set the tone for everything to sports radio in Jacksonville. I really believe that.
Wow.
You want to talk Jags? I see your Jags shirt.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, and I think we, all have some questions. Want to kind of tap into your knowledge base when it comes to what we're looking at for the future of the Jags. I always say we are the most optimistic fan base in the entire NFL. Every year is our year, right? If we could just get that one, draft pick or figure out, that one coaching position that we need to hire for or whatever. So what is your outlook on the Jags and what we've got coming up this next season?
TJ, I'm the ultimate optimist, and also I'll call the games. So this will be my 12th year calling Jags games, and I'm very blessed to do that. I think Shad's a really good owner. I feel for him because he's tried.
Yeah.
He's tried to get it right. I think it's a great fan base. You're right. The fan base is loyal. When they start winning that Bold City Brigade, though, they're on the road, man. They pack the place. Yeah. It's a great fan base, so they deserve to be good. I like Liam. I was very close to Doug Peterson. I like Doug. I wanted it to. I didn't know Trent Baalke as well, but I was pretty close to Doug.
I knew that you knew Doug pretty well.
We got to be pretty close, and I wish it would have worked for him. I'm a big Doug Peterson fan, but I've just met Liam a little bit. I don't know him well, but I like what I see. I think he's got energy. I think he's smart as heck. I think he's built a young staff. That's the theme.
Yeah.
The young staff at this recording, obviously they hadn't had a GM hired as of yet, but I like what I see from Liam. I like his energy, and I think the foundation's there. Look, the premier positions in the NFL are quarterback, pass rusher, cover corner. Now receivers become a premier position. The Jags have pretty good cheekbones.
They got
now.
talent. I mean, they did not punch above their weight this year.
They did not.
The talent they have.
That's correct. And I think Trevor's going to be really good. Remember this now. The great quarterbacks in the NFL, for the most part, their glory years are years 5 through 10. After 10, some get old. Well, Tom Brady never got old. Peyton never did, but most of them get old. Years 1 through 4, they're learning how to play. Well, Trevor just finished his 4th year. Yeah. So the golden years for Trevor, I would think, are now. He's got a really good developer of quarterbacks. What Liam Cohen did last year with Baker Mayfield was special. Ask Baker. Baker had been bouncing around, but Baker, Sam Darnold, so many of these guys, by the time they're in their 5th, 6th year, they learn how to play. Yeah. And I think that's where Trevor will be. So I think Trevor's good. Both pass rushers are fantastic.
Yeah.
Josh Hines, Allen, and Trayvon Walker are good players. They didn't have much help. The defensive tackles didn't play well last year, so there wasn't much help in the middle. So you could double team them almost. You could chip them or double team them almost every play. And obviously you got a budding superstar wide receiver, Brian Thomas Jr. He's a star. Yeah. He stays healthy. It's a Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, he stays healthy. He'll be one of the best Jaguars to ever play. Right. So I like the cheekbones. I like where I think they are. I'm always the optimist.
Yeah.
So I will tell you that. But I like who I think they are. I like where I think they are. And I'm excited. I'm excited about where this thing's headed.
So what do you think? Okay, I've got theories as an amateur fan watching. What was the issue last year? What would you say is we got to get right?
Yeah, I think there were 2 areas from a personnel standpoint that didn't play as well. The 2 lines of scrimmage weren't as physical as you'd want them to be. Devon Hamilton, who looked like a very good nose tackle a few years ago, had a bad illness, and he's a good dude, and he's trying his best to get back. But the defensive tackles as a group didn't play well. So when you're not physical at the line of scrimmage, and they weren't a very good run blocking line. Yeah. So when you can't run, Trevor said it in his post game after Doug was fired and after Trevor said, listen, we never could run the ball. And if you can't run the ball, you become predictable on offense. So I think two things. Number one, I think both lines of scrimmage, Daniel, they weren't physical enough. Yeah. And it's hard to win in this league. And the other thing is Ryan Nielsen, who they brought in as a coordinator, did the best he could. But there were breakdowns in the secondary that I think cost Doug Peterson his job. From the very first game, the Miami game, which if Travis Etienne doesn't fumble, they probably win the game.
I agree.
Yeah, but he did. But then the Dolphins hit two big plays over the top. One to Tyreek Hill, one to Jalen Waddle over the top.
That was so demoralizing.
But that became their season.
Yes.
The season became the deep balls over the top.
Yeah.
The deep ball that Green Bay hit at the end of the game when it looked like the Jags were going to win that game. And because you're younger, at the end of games, you didn't make plays. If you look at that, I think of they finished 4-13. Of the 13 losses, I think 10 of them were one possession.
Right. Yeah.
9 of them were 5 points or less. And all 9 of those, the final points were either scored or not scored. The final play of significance was in the last minute and a half of the game. Right. So you got to make plays at the end of the game. They had in both the Packers and the Eagles game, two very good teams. They had a chance to make a play and they threw an interception at the end of the game. Yep. Other times they gave up a big play at the end of the game. So even the Colts game they won in Jacksonville, they were way ahead, and then the Colts hit a bunch of plays over the top. Yeah. Well, allowing the deep ball and not being physical at the line of scrimmage, in my opinion, led to 10-7 being 4-13. Yeah. I think those are the two things. So they got to get the line of scrimmage fixed. You've heard Tony Baselli talk about it since he got the job as EVP. He'll do a great job of that. It's a great hire.
We should talk about that.
That is a great hire on so many fronts. And I think you hear Liam talking about it. You got to win the game at the line of scrimmage, and that's where they've got to get better. It really is.
This episode is brought to you by Manifest Distilling. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Speakeasy's unofficial third host, whiskey. Manifest Distilling is Jacksonville's premier organic distillery. These guys aren't just making booze, they're crafting art in a bottle. Everything they make is certified organic, locally sourced, and ridiculously smooth. Whether you're sipping a neat pour of their straight bourbon, which is what I usually drink during the show, or you're mixing up a killer cocktail with their Florida Botanical Gin, you're getting the best quality without the chemicals. And if you're in the Jacksonville area, you've got to check out their tasting room. It's got that speakeasy meets modern lounge vibe. So whether you're looking for a place to grab a drink on a night out or just meeting up with friends after work, Manifest Distilling is the perfect spot.
So you have
I was just going to say, speaking of Liam, should we talk about the elephant in the room, the Duval? I just what is your take on that situation?
You know what I think?
People need to cut him some slack, right?
I think he's probably laughing about it himself by now.
You got to. Listen, I mean, what else can you do?
All the things I'm concerned, go win me 12 games next year.
Fine.
I don't care what you say.
Nobody remembers it, right?
You call me what you want to call me. Get my name wrong. So I think
that it was pretty funny though. Yeah, that was going around, and you think, man, somebody's going to ask him to do Duval.
Right.
You would think they would have walked it through a couple of times before he did it, but
yeah. It is what it is.
It is.
Everybody else was talking about it. I thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah, and I think people are going to like him. I think he's a regular guy. I think he's a down-to-earth guy. I
want to see creative play calling.
And look, we've never seen him as a play caller and a head coach.
Yeah.
So when that's the case, you don't know. I say this all the time about tons of young coordinators that become head coaches. You really don't know until they do it.
Yeah.
And so I think he's going to be good. Yeah. I really do. I think Ben Johnson in Chicago is going to be good. I think the young guys that are getting jobs, I think Aaron Glenn with the Jets is going to be good. Those guys, there's a reason those guys were kind of hot commodities. Yeah. But you don't know.
How crazy was the story, though, about Shad, Tampa, coming back? I mean, that was literally unbelievable.
Yeah, and I however it played out, that they got Liam to reconsider, I will say this. And again, I'm a Homer guy, so I'll preface it with I'm a Homer guy. But that's where the guy needs some slack. Listen, it's the biggest decision of his life.
Yeah.
He's 39 years old, man. So it took him a few days to get it right. And at one point he got excited about I assume, I didn't ask him this, but he got excited about the offer to be the highest paid coordinator. He said, yeah, okay, that's good. I'll take that. And then whether the Jags got back to him or whether he rethought it, however it played out, he said, wait a minute now. It's only been a day.
Yeah.
It's not like he made this decision and there's 2 weeks of hiring and firing and building all this around him, and then he left 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
It was a day.
Yeah.
He got beat up too much for that. It was one day, a young guy trying to get it right.
Right.
It was one day. He said, yeah, I'll keep the money. I'll take the coordinator money and tell him no. And then he probably thought, man, I don't know. And
chance of a lifetime, right?
Yeah,
you can't fault him for doing what's best for his family, his career.
All the Tampa people say, well, we don't fault him for leaving. It's just he said he was staying and then he left. Well, he's a young guy. It was a day. Who hasn't changed their mind?
Circumstances changed with the GM.
And you know what? And that might have had something to do with it too. So I think I think the Tampa folks overreacted to all of that.
Yeah.
It's a young guy trying to better his life, and I think now that'll dissipate. I don't think Jason Light, the Tampa Bay GM, is going to be mad at forever at Liam Cohen. I know. Liam's a good dude, and he's respected around the league, and I think that'll pass.
Who do you think that we should? Are we drafting number 5? Mm-hmm. Okay. Who would be your pick?
Yeah, and if Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan's there, that's who I would take. You got to get better. Back to the question you guys asked me a minute ago. You got to get better at the line of scrimmage. Now listen, I think the three positions they're most associated with it, that if they stay at 5, that's without knowing what they do in free agency, are wide receiver, cornerback, and defensive line. Those are the 3 you hear the most. You hear defensive line, you hear corner. The receiver out of Arizona is really good. The corner from Michigan's good. The defensive tackle from Michigan's good. But if it's up to me, get better at that. And again, a lot of that, by the way, is based on what you do in free agency.
Right.
If you do more in free agency, but get better at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
I really, you gotta find. It's hard to find those big people.
Why do some teams always seem to have that foundation?
Yeah. Well, they know how to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's something to teams that win all the time.
Yeah.
I think they know how to build. I think they know how to develop. I think there's a culture in their building that the players that come in there know how they're supposed to work. Right. They know how they're expected to work.
Yeah.
And I think and that's in any sport, Daniel. I think teams that are good at it know how to be good at it.
Yeah.
I think, should we talk about walk-off charities?
Well, I mean, we're out here at the home of walk-off charities.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk Jags all day.
Right.
Every once in a while, I'll text or call Frank and just say, hey, what do you think? What's happening? And
get the inside scoop, huh?
It is kind of fun. But back to baseball, what an amazing story. And I think the folks in Jacksonville would love to hear how this even became a dream, and then how you executed, because it's such a cool story.
Well, Daniel, thank you for that. Those are very kind comments. I'm a baseball guy.
Yeah.
I grew up playing Little League Baseball. I think Little League Baseball, Youth League Baseball is the greatest thing ever. I think the opportunity to play Youth League Baseball is every kid should get.
Yeah.
I can remember getting the uniform and going home, and I slept in it, man. I had my uniform, and
I had lucky socks.
Yes.
Did you have lucky socks?
I don't have that, but I
did, man. I had to have those socks on before I went out on the field.
So we rebuilt Stan Susi Baseball Park. That was when Mayor Curry was in office. He was helpful. Scott Wilson was the president of the council.
Yeah.
Very helpful in making that happen. And so we rebuilt Stan Susi Baseball Park, where I grew up, and we built a Sam Musa, God rest his soul, was very helpful. So we rebuilt the parking lot and whatnot. So I was very proud of it. I tell this story all the time. I tell the plumber story. People are probably tired of hearing the plumber story, but it really is where it started. So we've got this park rebuilt. My dishwasher broke. I might be the least handy guy in America. Okay. 330 million Americans. I was going to say, I got a screwdriver. I don't know if it's a Phillips head or a flathead. So the dishwasher breaks. So we call the repair guy. It's on a Saturday coming.
Right.
So he's fixing the dishwasher, and I'm watching him fix the dishwasher like I can help, right? I get that. So young guy. So we get talking. He lives around that Windy Hill area.
Yeah.
If you know the South Side, it's not far from where San Souci is. So I said, I'm real proud of our ballpark. And he's a young guy. He's got a family. And I said, well, look, I said, you got kids? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I got kids. I said, well, bring them out to play baseball at our new San Souci. We've renovated this park, and I'm real excited about it. And Daniel, he looked at me, and he said, sir, it costs $150 to play in one of those baseball leagues. I got 5 kids. My kids will never play organized baseball.
Wow.
And I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
I'm a talk radio guy. You would think I'd have an answer. I really didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Then I mumbled out something. He finished fixing the dishwasher. He left. I said, that was God's calling to me.
Huh.
I said, okay. we can't have this. So we did some research. When I was growing up in the 70s, our favorite baseball players were Hank Aaron and Willie Stargell and Joe Morgan and Frank Robinson, and 27% of Major League Baseball players in the 70s were African American men, not Dominican, not Puerto Rican, black men born in America. 27%. That number now is 6%. 6, because baseball is just not available in the inner city. Now the Major League Baseball has a really good program. It's called RBI, Reviving Baseball in the Inner City, but you're still only as good as your boots on the ground. So I said, what if we started What if we started our own? What if we found a way to take baseball, raise a bunch of money, and buy uniforms and coaching and equipment and umpires for all the kids in the inner city? That was it. It was not a very fancy initiative. It was a very simple one. Let's raise a bunch of money and let's teach the kids in the inner city. Let them have these little league baseball uniforms that we all get to have, and let them go play these really cool tournaments. And this isn't about finding the next major leaguer. If that happens, that's fine. It's about opportunity. Daniel, I couldn't get beyond his vision of, and this stayed with me. It wasn't a nightmare, just his vision. It's the third grade, wear your uniform to school day. And there's a kid that has his Yankees shirt on and his hat, and he stands up, he's 8 or 9 years old, and he tells a story about how he had the winning hit on Saturday. He knocked in the winning run. And there's a kid sitting next to him that'll never wear that jersey because he can't afford to play. And I just, that's the barrier you got to take down. And so that was it. So we started it. We've been around 7 years. We've put 10,000 kids through our program. It started with clinics. We do it in conjunction with the DCPS, who do a Tammy Talley from the public school system is fantastic. And so we do clinics. That evolved into leagues. We have leagues all over town now for walk-off leagues. That evolved into a scout team, which is sort of a travel team for all minority kids to go play in some of these tournaments. I got to show you a story. I want to show you a glove. I got to tell you a story that I think you guys will appreciate. I got 2 gloves here. Indulge me for a second. So we have these walk-off gloves, right? And here you go. There's 2 gloves. So, and these kids will never have a glove. I mean, you can't imagine. We can't imagine a kid never having a baseball glove. Never. But those kids did. So when we hold these clinics, it's 200 kids a clinic. We do them 8 times a school year, and we give them a glove. So we get them all together. We talk to them. We welcome them. We feed them a hot dog lunch. They get a glove, and then but they've never had a glove in their life. And never would. And we would have 3 or 4 in the bat bag. And so Daniel, the real moment, I even get emotional when I talk about it a little bit. But the moment is, we do it out here now. We see San Souci. The first, we exercise, get them all working out and get them jumping jacks, whatnot. Then they go to their station. And in the station, we give them the gloves. We have a Sharpie. And we say, you put your name on your glove. And again, they don't know if they're right-handed or left-handed. So that's why we have right-handed, left-handed gloves. And we say, put your name on your glove. And with the Sharpie. And the coaches give them a Sharpie. And that moment, they think about it. You can see the process. They go, my name. Well, that means I get to keep it. That's the moment. Wow. That is so cool. How many gloves have you had a chance to get out?
Lord.
We've had...
I can tell you're getting emotional.
I get emotional talking about it. I really do.
That is amazing,
Probably, we do 8 clinics a year, 200 kids a clinic, 1,600 kids a year through clinics. We've had 7 years, probably 10,000.
10,000.
Like that.
That's incredible.
I love it. And they love it. So that's very exciting.
So Frank, I'm thinking about, and obviously we're out here, so we've got some of the background. Call it out for what it is. But I'm thinking about what an undertaking all of that is, in such a worthwhile effort, so impactful. I'm like you, when it comes to kids not having opportunities, a kid getting hurt, that's when it really starts to choke me up. But it's apparent that you are all about collaborating with other people, other organizations. I look at, the field, and I see some of the different advertisements that are, out here for sponsorships. Baker Sports, Josh Baker's a friend of mine. But do you want to talk a minute about all the partnerships
and I will. I hope I don't leave any out. So first of all, the best partner has been the city of Jacksonville. Both during Mayor Curry's terms, and Mayor Deegan has been fantastic. Donna has been great. Lenny was great. So we've had a great relationship with both mayors and both administrations. Daryl Joseph, who runs the park system, is as good as it gets. If you don't know Daryl, then he's about as good a park director as I've ever been around in my life. He's really good. So they've been great partners. They built this. That's how this park came around, TJ.
Beautiful.
Is the city wanted to do this. They got with me. they put out an RFP. We got the RFP, and then Daryl said, "How do we do it?" I said, "Well, let's design it together." I sat down with Frank Anderson from Macon at a First Watch restaurant on Southside Boulevard and designed this on a napkin. True story. We still have the napkin.
Wow.
So we designed.
You need to frame that.
I do, don't I?
Yeah.
So we designed it on the napkin. So it starts with the city. We needed grandstands, so I went to my friend Peter Bragan Jr., the former owner of the Jacksonville Suns, and I asked him for a big check to build that grandstand behind us, and he gave it. So, but then you're right. It's the Friends of Frank. It's Josh Baker from Baker Sports. It's Jamie Shelton from the Best Bet. It's Billy Nimnick from the Nimnick family dealers. The guys I call on all the time.
Yeah.
The Friends of Frank. They probably do hate seeing me coming. Okay, but the Parmans from Big Chief.
Oh yeah,
I know Reed real well.
Friends. Yeah.
Reed is the best, and Fritz and I were very close, and Reed and I, and so the Big Chief folks. David Hodges, you probably also know.
No, David.
Yeah,
Really
so
well.
so
I played little league ball with David Hodges, and his dad was our coach.
and his dad was the coach at Lee when I played at Inglewood.
Wow.
And but those are the folks that have participated here. But my friend Gary Chartrand, there's no walk-off charities without Gary. Gary helped so many people in Jacksonville. There's no walk-off charities with it. He's been a great friend. Scott Wilson was a great friend. Jamie Shelton has been a great friend. The folks at South State Bank have been great. So there's a lot of sponsors and a lot of people. But mostly, people just want to help, TJ.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many calls I get. Do you need equipment? Do you need this? And we have this park as a revenue stream for us. The city allowed this. We participated in building it out, but it's a revenue stream for walk-off. So we play a high school baseball tournament, then a high school softball tournament in the spring from last week of February till probably first week of May. There's a high school baseball game here every night. Every night.
Wow.
Every night. Well, every weeknight. Every week, Monday through Friday, every weeknight. And the revenues, the gate and the concession go to walk-off. So
That's
it's
awesome.
a lot of people helping
That is
together,
great.
and a lot of people caring about kids is what it is, which is a cool thing.
Well, isn't that what's one of the things that's special about Jacksonville? I know you've been a lot of different places over your career as far as visiting and being around different cities. Jacksonville's special in a lot of ways, but the one you just listed, I think, is one of the things that we do best, coming together.
Everybody.
100%.
Yeah.
TJ, I can't imagine another cities as good as we are at that.
I agree.
This is a great place.
Yeah.
And it's great people that care about kids. And listen, I believe this too. I talked about our backgrounds. I believe there's an awful lot of people that grew up kind of like I did.
Right.
And so they grew up having to battle to make it work, you know? And I think they're now trying to help other people maybe not have to go through quite the struggles they did. I see a lot of that in Jacksonville, and it's a cool thing.
So this is supposed to be unfiltered stories, because so many times in my career, everything I talk about is a very filtered subject, on point, with my bullets, and I stay on script. So I need to tell an unfiltered story here about walk-off that I'm kind of embarrassed about. It was the most embarrassing moment on a baseball field.
So we're back to that, okay.
Yes, I figured I needed to say it because we got to be unfiltered on this thing. So Frank, raising money, had a big event down at Jumbo Shrimp baseball grounds, and he asked some of the leaders in the community come do a home run derby contest. And like Mark Brunell was the one right before me, and he's such a freak athlete.
And he won.
You know? Yeah, I mean, and
Do you remember this, Frank? Okay.
I don't remember Daniel's.
I'm so glad you don't remember it, because
He's just being kind.
Every time I see you, I go, man, I hope Frank doesn't remember this. But I get in, they have a pitcher on the mound behind a net. He's throwing strikes for batting practice, basically. And I go into it thinking, I used to crush the baseball. When I was in high school, I would bean them off the center field fence all the time. I played a little JUCO ball, so I loved the game. I played it. Get up, first meatball pitch right down the middle, and I swing like I'm going to knock. I'm absolutely whiff. And get this, my friends are in the stands. My kids came to watch. 10 balls in a row. I missed. That's never happened to me before. My timing was really off. And
you think?
I think I was way out in front of the ball. I don't know, but I should have gone to the cage before I went and just got my timing down. But the most embarrassing moment, and I look up in the stands, and everybody's kind of just.
Your kids are gone. Your kids are out.
Oh, my kids left. They did not want to walk to the car with me, so they went straight to the car. I opened the door and I go, I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. Like,
That's a great story. I did not remember that.
Good.
But that is
now it's out there forever.
Yeah, so-
I got it out. You know,
We had a home run derby for a few years. That well, I want to appreciate you participating. I did not remember that. I remember Brunel winning it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember the one year. Brent Martineau won it another year.
Martineau was videoing me the whole time, looking at me, just shaking his head like, dude, this is really bad.
I think you need a chance to redeem yourself at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know if you still do that or if we just come out here sometime.
Yeah,
and
maybe we can
Yeah.
try
For what
that.
it's worth, we had a short fence, TJ. We had a short so we could all hit home runs. And we all thought we were just going to. I thought I'd hit 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think I had 3. Okay.
Yeah.
None other than the real athlete, Brunel. And
Well,
then
he
Martineau
went 10
did
for
well.
10.
The most.
I was 10 for 10.
Loggeman was out there swinging. We had a bunch of guys out there. It was a lot of fun.
So, couple last things. We're going to
Okay.
tighten this in coming in for our landing, but we ask all of the guests to come out to bring a picture that
Yeah.
maybe they're super proud of or something that would tell a story. Do you have something for us today?
Sort of. I got a plaque. If you can get this plaque, if you get a shot of this plaque, you can see that. This is really when we started sports, and then someone did a plaque. We did this. The Times Union wrote a story about this. When we started sports radio, back to what we talked about earlier, we started sports radio. Jay Solomon started it, and he was kind of the godfather of it
That's
all.
it.
Yeah, and Jay's in the picture. Greg Larson,
Right.
who also left the Times Union to do radio and did a really
Right.
good job. David Lamb, who was the most charismatic of any of us.
Yes.
David was the most charismatic of the group. There's no and the most impactful and the most opinionated. And then I'm in there too, and that's the four of us that kind of really launched sports radio in Jacksonville. I'm the only one left.
Wow.
And we've lost the other 3, and they were all impactful in the sports radio world. They really were, and David very impactful in my life. And Greg and I good friends at the Times Union. So you asked me to bring a picture. That was one.
That's an impressive picture.
You
Think about where we are today.
Yeah, and that's how sports radio launched with those 4 people. And again, I'm 66. I was 34 when that picture was taken, and I'm the last one left of that group. But that group, there's no sports radio without those 3 guys that are standing next to me in that picture.
Man,
So
What incredible memories you have of
I
that
I'm
time.
very blessed to have worked with all of them, and so and those 3 guys have an awful lot to do with sports radio in Jacksonville.
Well, another question that we ask, our job is all about bringing jobs to Jacksonville, and I'm proud of all of the great things that we've done in this community with the Chamber and Jacks USA partnership, and it helps facilitate the economic engine that can pay for things
Sure.
like this. And I arguably have one of the best jobs in Jacksonville. I get to tell my story to folks all over the world and get them to come to my city. That's super, super cool.
It really
for me.
is.
And so I also have had some pretty bad jobs and things that pop out in my mind of I never want to do that again. What, as you were coming up, do you have one that pops out to you as the worst job you had?
I've had very good jobs, and I got a pretty good one now.
Yeah.
Probably the one that jumps out at me the most. When I was in college, I coached Little League, and I needed a summer job.
Right.
And one of the fathers of one of our players, Bob Burnett, wonderful guy, had worked at Joy Serve, the Toyota docks down there.
Right.
And so they hired college kids to come and drive the cars to be detailed,
Right.
undercoating, and your job was to go and then to just, well, I thought, well, that's an easy job. I'm driving cars. Well, the people that were working, the men that were working, hated the college kids. They hated the fact that these college kids would show up and they're home from college and they're prim and proper to college, so they'd show up and they hated us. And so I don't think in my 66 years I've ever been yelled at as much as I was yelled at for about 8 hours a day. Move that car, get that car out of here. Why don't you? So I said I should have gone in the military,
Right?
Because there's no way the drill sergeant was going to yell at me any more than those guys did. So so 3 months of being yelled at would be probably a bit of, you know what, those guys they had a job to do and they were getting it done. But I remember thinking to myself, whew. I remember going back to Florida. I've never been happier to get in a car and drive back to Gainesville, Florida my entire life. Because no matter how many times I flunked a test, no one was yelling at me like those guys yelled at me. So we've all, those 3 or 4 of us that had that job have laughed about it since. But got yelled at a bunch when I was 19, 18
I remember
years old.
those jobs. The alarm goes off, and you're just like, I have to go do this again.
Yeah.
And you dread it the whole way.
Yeah.
And then you get to have a job like you have today. that you're smiling the whole way to work and you get to do the thing that you love. And it's just super, super cool.
Yeah, Daniel, I'm very blessed. I've thought this, I'm very blessed. I'm in my hometown. I get to call the NFL games for my
That's
hometown
a big
team.
deal. Yeah.
It's the most important assignment of my career. I get to, I don't have a very big family. It's just my wife and I. My mom's gone. My wife's family is in Tampa, and they're our family.
Your wife is lovely, by the way.
Thank you for that. Yeah, she loves you, thinks the world of you too. She told me that when I was driving over here today. But those listeners are our family.
Yeah.
And after 37 years of doing it, the listeners are their family. So I'm very blessed.
So you want to hear a secret?
Yeah.
Every so often, when I just need to get the Frank Frangie call, I mute the TV and I listen to the Frank Frangie call. And I got to tell you, it's way better.
Well, I appreciate it. It's kind of you to say.
Kind of fun to do.
It's an awful fun job. I can tell you that.
So, Frank, I've known that you are an icon here in Jacksonville, but getting to meet you, hear your story, you're now an inspiration to me. So thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you for the investment you're making in the youth of this community and just in Jacksonville in general. You have a ton of fans that love listening to you and your perspective on football and life. And so we're grateful that you spent some time with us today.
That's very kind of me, TJ. Thank you guys for this.
Yeah,
what
thanks
you do.
for inviting us out.
Yeah, thanks for
We need to come back out and catch a game. And any way the chamber can be involved to help, make sure if you need something to get the business community involved, we're going to be here for you because of all of the lives that you're changing on a regular basis. So thanks for the time.
Thank you, TJ. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, awesome.
This episode is brought to you by Office Images. When was the last time you walked into an office and thought, wow, this space actually makes me want to work here? A thoughtfully designed workplace isn't just about aesthetics. It helps with attracting and retaining top talent. Office Images works with companies to create functional, inspiring environments that make the return to the office feel less like a chore and more like an upgrade. From start to finish, whether you're designing a brand new space or giving your current one a much needed refresh, they'll bring the workplace of the future to life.